So, Andrew, I had a few people telling me to check my emails that there would be something in there from the Maryland State Police, and lo and behold, there was.
What did you win?
More tyranny? I'm Duane Urban, and welcome to the Urban Defense Podcast, featuring discussion on firearms, concealed carry, self-defense, the law, and much more. Designed to inform, educate, increase your survival in a critical incident. Welcome to the Urban Defense Podcast. I'm Duane Urban, and along with me, as always, is attorney Andrew Saller, managing partner of Saller, Lord, Ernstberger, and Inslee. And in today's abbreviated episode, we're going to be discussing the email or emails that people have been receiving from the Maryland State Police regarding some laws that have changed with the 2024 legislative session. So let's get right into it. Andrew, did you get these emails?
I did, and I was actually excited. I thought I was not disapproved for some firearms.
I thought I had won something.
Exactly.
No, apparently not. So here's what the email said, and we've seen a lot of people posting on the Maryland Gun Owners group, and I've received some calls and text messages. So the email essentially says, please see the attached notification being sent in accordance with Maryland Public Safety Article subsection 5-147B, as in Bravo. And it says the Maryland Department of State Police is required to provide the following summary of each of the new law changes to each existing law pertaining to firearms that was passed by the General Assembly during the 2024 legislative session. So don't confuse this with the bill that was requiring that pamphlet. Do you remember what that was?
You're talking about Senate Bill 501, Duane.
Yeah, that was the one I said that was like the cartoon things they dropped over France during World War II.
Yes.
That did not pass.
Made too much sense. That did not pass, but the legislation that requires this notification passed in 2023.
That's
before
right.
we started doing the podcast.
That's right. This particular bit went into effect October 1st of 2023, and I'll just read it to you real quick. This is, again, subsection. Is that right, Andrew? Subsection 5-147.
I would call it, it's the public safety article, section 5.
Very good.
1. Yeah.
All right. So in this, it says, department defined in this section. Department means the Department of State Police. And in general, B1, the department shall transmit to each email address on file with the department that is associated with the purchaser or transferee of a regulated firearm or a person who has registered a regulated firearm with the department, a summary of each new law or change to each existing law pertaining to firearms that was passed by the General Assembly during each legislative session as provided in paragraph 2 of this subsection, which essentially says, paragraph 2, the summary described in paragraph 1 of this subsection shall be transmitted, within 45 days after the General Assembly adjourns, signed in a legislative session, for each act establishing a new law or change to an existing law pertaining to firearms 30 days before the effective date of that act, and if an act is designated as an emergency act as soon as practicable. So this kind of explains a little bit about why people receive 2 emails.
Absolutely. One email is going to detail all the new firearms laws passed by the Maryland General Assembly, and the other one, very similar to the first one, is going to once again detail the acts passed by the General Assembly that go into effect in the next 30 days, i.e. June 1st.
So the long one that had all the laws that we're going to be going through initially or first, that's everything, and then the shorter one is the stuff that goes into effect June the 1st.
Correct. If you read this law and interpret it as I do and the state police do, they would be required to notify you twice.
Which is why they, I guess, did what they did when they did it.
Absolutely.
All right, so let me see if I can't pull up that first email that we received. Okay. And so it should also be noted that many of these were discussed by us during our podcast regards to the 2024 legislative session. There may be some in here that are somewhat irrelevant, but I guess let's start at the top. So House Bill 315, Senate Bill, which slash Senate Bill 319, regulated firearms, Maryland judiciary reporting requirements. This goes into effect June the 1st of 24. Andrew, what is this in a nutshell?
It's going to require the Maryland State Commission on Criminal Sentencing Policy to compile a report every year of firearms convictions. I will be very interested to see how detailed this is and if it has a separate subsection for concealed carry permit holders committing crimes. We all know the answer so far has rhymed with hero. But this requires this report to be generated and disseminated to the Maryland judiciary, the governor, and other people.
Okay, so essentially a data gathering bill, but not anything that creates criminal penalties for citizens.
Correct.
Okay.
Hence why it goes into effect June 1st.
So the next one we have is House Bill 947, Civil Actions, Public Nuisances, Firearms Industry Members, Gun Industry Accountability Act of 2024. And we discussed this at length in previous podcasts.
Absolutely. In the live seminar we did, this has a tremendous potential to have a great effect on the Maryland firearms industry generally.
Great as in not good, though.
Not good if you are in the firearms industry. Great is in terms of potential.
Understood.
It could lead to the death of the Maryland firearms industry.
And this would then allow lawsuits to be filed against firearms industry members, which, again, if you want to know more about that, you can look at our previous videos. But this would be firearms industry members are going to be those dealers and manufacturers that are selling firearms and firearms-related products.
In the broadest possible sense, also ammunition, all of that. And remember, there were the changes at the end. Private citizens can no longer bring an action under this in the final form that passed, but the local municipalities are now the ones empowered to sue the firearm industry members. So the city of Baltimore, Baltimore County, Garrett County, Allegheny County, etc.
So could we see, I hate to give people ideas, but could we see in a future session where they try and amend this existing past law to add in those citizens at a later time?
Anything is possible in Annapolis. Absolutely.
Okay, so that is what that one means. That is going to be very detrimental to the firearms industry, but does not directly affect, in a criminal sense, citizens.
Correct. It's just going to affect your ability to purchase ammunition when no one will be willing to sell it in the state of Maryland. Goes into effect June 1st.
So the next one is House Bill 416, Public Schools Active Shooter Safety Drills or Trainings Requirements. This one we didn't really go into much detail on. Andrew, what is this one here?
This is going to require local school systems, Baltimore City Public Schools, Baltimore County Public Schools, you all get the picture, to provide school shooting training. And then at the same time, for those who are traumatized by it, provide psychological help to those who do, and then collect data on the effectiveness of the drills and of the psychological trauma and or training that is employed.
The next one we're going to look at is...
Oh, it goes into effect July 1 for that one. So you'll be getting another email about this in 30 days.
All right, House Bill 1167, Maryland Center for School Safety, Secure Schools Emergency Response Grant Program established. What is this?
By September 1st of 2026, every school board will be required to have an emergency alert system in place for school shootings and other tragedies. In this case, this establishes the pilot program that's going to begin grant funding to allow creations and implementations of this and to create emergency alert systems for the schools.
Okay. Next, House Bill 583/Senate Bill 475, Center for Firearm Violence Prevention and Intervention Establishment.
This one is with the Maryland Department of Health, the goal being to reduce violence. They're going to start this new center. The center will work in consultation with specific state agencies and stakeholders to solicit and consider recommendations from specified communities and experts and submit to the governor and General Assembly a plan for a state public health approach to reducing firearm violence by May 1st, 2025.
So pretty much what it says, it's creating this consultation, this study, kind of?
Well, they're going to go around and solicit specifically from health professionals what they can do to reduce firearm violence. I do question why they are better to provide any answers on this topic than perhaps veterinarians or any other group of people.
Moms demand action, perhaps.
That group would love to be consulted.
Safe
They
streets.
demand it. Yes. Yes.
And these experts that they intend to consult with in these community pillars of the community, that's concerning to me too, because, garbage in, garbage out.
I question their knowledge of the Second Amendment, of the historical context of it, and yeah.
And the true data as opposed to what they're getting from the news.
Yes.
Okay.
And what their agendas will be. I imagine you and I both know what their agenda will be, but.
Right. So this one goes into effect October the 1st. The one before that, July the 1st. Okay, so House Bill 810, criminal law, rapid fire activator, switch, and auto sear, one that we discussed in detail during our previous podcast as well as during the live seminar. Andrew, what is this thing again?
Maryland, in their infinite wisdom, has decided to outlaw these on the state level. They are already outlawed on the federal level, and unless you have an ATF tax stamp, you are already in trouble for having one. So now it will be a state crime as well.
But this will have no effect, because I've been asked by people from the NFA community, this will have no effect on current lawfully registered, transferable, or otherwise registered NFA devices.
None whatsoever.
Okay. And that one goes into effect October the 1st. House Bill 1063, community organizations underlying crime. I don't remember this one. Did we talk about this one?
No, we did not, but this is mainly going to apply to criminal organizations within the state of Maryland. And it's basically expanding the Maryland RICO Act for additional ways they can get you on a state RICO charge.
Understood. And that goes into effect October 1. All right. Senate Bill 652, Department of Juvenile Services, Report on Shootings, Department of Juvenile Services, Transparency Act of 2024. What is it?
This requires another organization, the Department of Juvenile Services in our Maryland state government. They are to write a report and get it to the General Assembly by December 1st of every year. December 1st, obviously, so they have time to read it and discuss and come up with wonderful ways to correct it in the next legislative session. And the DJS, they're to get the number of juveniles under DJS supervision in the preceding year who were non-fatally shot another individual, or were a victim of a homicide. Now, once again, these are children that have been determined, they've been adjudicated delinquent, so they're on essentially probation, what would be probation in the adult system, except they're under the supervision of what's called the Department of Juvenile Services. So essentially the number of them that are engaged in serious criminal activity or the victims of serious criminal activity to the actions DJS took in response to these, awful actions, and the age of each juvenile in the report, and the county of residence of each juvenile in the report. And then this report's going to go to the legislature, and they will do marvelous things with this data, I am sure.
Understood. Okay, and the last one in that email is going to be House Bill 814, Juvenile Law Reform. What is this?
This was one of the most controversial bills down in Annapolis this year. Everyone has seen the ongoing controversy of juvenile crime in the state. There are people who rightfully decry that juveniles are committing very serious acts and being released with little to no consequences, that the police essentially have no ability to interrogate juveniles that are charged with very, very serious crimes, up to and including murder, without their parent and guardian present and an attorney. And as a result of this, there was a effort to make a number of reforms down in Annapolis this year, and this is what came out of the legislative process. Like whenever a good sausage is made, no one wants to see the process, and this would definitely apply to this bill.
Okay, so that is the totality of the first email that everyone received. And now we can get into the second. So the second one are those things that are going to be going into effect within the next 30 days, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So it'll be those things that we just discussed, or are these going to be additional? Because that email was everything. This one's what's going to be going into effect.
Yes, on June 1st.
All right. So those things are going to be the House Bill 315/Senate Bill 319, the regulated firearms Maryland judiciary reporting requirements that we've just discussed, House Bill 947, civil actions, public nuisances, the lovely Firearms Industry Members Gun Industry Accountability Act.
It's about time we made the gun industry accountable, Duane.
Apparently so. And House Bill 814, juvenile law reform, the one that we just talked about. So although not all of them are going to have criminal implications, like we said, they're going to have tax implications. These things cost money.
Absolutely. And bureaucracy loves bureaucracy.
I thought the state was out of money. I thought that's what you said.
We are out of money.
Right.
Everyone be ready for their Uber tax. No, this is another layer of bureaucracy has been created, while at the same time, once again, starting June 1st, if you are a firearms industry member, you better check your insurance policies, you better check the best practices you are utilizing, and you better check what attorneys you have on retainer for when the lawsuits come. So
people in the audience can expect another email to come and more emails to continue to come 30 days prior, or at least 30 days prior to any new law or change going into effect.
Yes, so you should expect one coming out in June for the July changes and one coming out in September for the October changes.
And again, these are going to be people who the Maryland State Police have their emails on file because they are the purchaser or the transferee of a regulated firearm.
Absolutely. So I'm hoping a lot of our audience members are getting these emails.
So hopefully this was able to clear some things up for those of you that had questions. We obviously wanted to get on this as quickly as we could to put this information out. I really appreciate all the comments and the people that reached out regarding this topic. Okay, so Andrew, as we wrap up, any final thoughts?
It's an election year. Get out and vote. Make your displeasure known. This is Maryland's opportunity to affect the makeup of the United States Senate. The first time this has ever happened in my memory. Get out there, vote, do your part. Also, the General Assembly is not in session. Now is a perfect time to contact your state legislators and let them know how you feel about these new pieces of legislation, and to establish a relationship so you let them know about what they plan on doing next legislative session.
Okay, well, for the Urban Defense Podcast, I'm Duane Urban, along with Andrew Saller. Remember, knowledge is mental ammunition, and train, fight, and win.